They walk in that room, they become yours. And you got this energy inside your soul that says, I am the number one determinant of the success or failure of my students. Hey, y'all, when you get back, kick some butt. I'll see you in the winner's circle, celebrating your victory. Let's go. 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 Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you, everybody.
And we are live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to week 168 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy. Let me see who we got here in the building this morning. I'm hoping that my signal is strong, y'all. It looks like it might not be, but my picture looks clear on my end. So you give me a thumbs up if it's looking good as I see who's in the building. Starting off, we got Marsha Poe, who is with us at the School Leadership Institute with Principal Kafele this past Tuesday and Wednesday. Good to see you, Marsha, out there in San Diego. And we're going to talk a little bit about that before I get going. We got Arlette Johnson, Connecticut Assistant Principal of the Year, who I saw at the NAESP conference. And good to see you. Great to see you, Arlette. We got Rodney Richardson in the building. We got Roman numeral 2 in the building. Leslie Lyles from Cincinnati in the building. Takesha High, Michael Benton, my man. Vanessa Zeskin, Dot McKeever Jeter, that's Principal Dot McKeever Jeter, Principal Michael Benton, John Hurix, Jacqueline Williams is in the building, Rashard Davis, Tony McClenny, Ronald Pugh, Principal Pugh, Ricardo Yanis, Darnell McElveen, Hotep back at you, Angelise, Taranjo Rosales is in the building, Naomi Muzan is in the building, Dr. Demetrius Scott, saw him, he came to my School Leadership Institute as well. Good to see you, sir. The Queen, my wife, man, I can't wait to see her, man. I've been on the road since Sunday, y'all, man. You see I'm in a hotel. I've been on the road since Sunday, man. I can't wait to get home, stop by Monday for a little bit, for a day, and then back out. Good morning, wife. Kimberly Broughton Kafele in the building. Willie Lanier, Jody Contento. Jen GM is in the building. Lysandra Brackens, Anita Hooker, Angela Grayson, Jasmine Harris, Tiandra Eros is in the building. Typically we have Donna Sherrigant who just shares this thing so widely, but she's here at the conference, right? So she may not be able to do them shares for me. So I'm saying to y'all, unless she's like watching the breakout session and got me on the side right here looking at the broadcast, right? So hit that share button, hit that retweet button, hit that repost button. Let them know we are here. Just let someone know. But most importantly, hit that like button, man. That lets the algorithms know we're here. That lets the algorithms know that big things are happening, right? We got Jacelyn, maybe it's Jocelyn, I'm not sure. Bryson in the building. Melissa Jones Chuno in the building. Vanessa Zeskin, week 168, she said. Stacy Mabry's in the building. Somebody was talking about you, Stacy. I was somewhere this week. I don't know where I was because I've been all over the country this week, but I was somewhere and they were just singing your praises, man. Stacy Mabry, man, she be taking care of business. I said, yeah, I know something about that work she be doing. Yeah, we got Asia Burnett in the building. Kamar Oleokun Jr., thumbs up in the building. Jocelyn Nelson, I'm getting ready to get it rocking, y'all. Brenda Allen, Adonna Burns, Terry Patterson, Jeff Milner, Stacy L. Joy in the building. Cammie Berry is in the building. Muriel No Nonsense is here. Good morning to you. Oh, we got the good Marcus Jackson. Let me show you. See Marcus Jackson, Dr. Marcus Jackson. He's here at the conference. So Marcus got me right here. And then he looking at the conference, but he doing like this here. I appreciate you, Doc. Yes, sir. We got turn that volume down, Doc. we got where we at? Edwin Garcia in the building, Arcella Austri, Sharon Brown, Yolanda McKinney in the building, Christopher Ellie. I'm getting ready to wrap it up, y'all. Yvette Simmons is in the building, Kelly Eckert Felder, Lisa Jordat, and I think I'm getting ready to end it. I see Champion Principal out there in Tuscaloosa. Good to see you, sir. Monica Eaton Cleveland and Freddie Nunez. I think I'm gonna wind it up right there. I see September in the building. Got to shout out Devon Vance Daniels, but I think I'm done, y'all. Let me get it going. I got to shout out Whitney Smith though. She had Dynamite podcast in a presentation the other day with me and Mary. You know, we were on there taking care of business. So Central Hicks is in the building, and I think that's it, y'all. Let me get to it. I got to shout out Dennis McKeezy, man. Dennis McKeezy is also here in the building, right? So it's all these folks are here at the Black Educators Rock Conference. So they see it not robbery, y'all. I'm getting ready to end it. They see it not robbery to be looking straight at the presenter, but then they got the phone, man. They said, we gonna check out the virtual AP Leadership Academy on the sneak tip, right? So they still watching while they looking straight, right? So let me formally, y'all see how loud I am? I'm in a hotel, man. They got me in a section where I don't think it's gonna be a problem, so I can get loud in here. So let me say to everybody this morning, good morning, greetings. Welcome to week 168 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy. I got a question to ask you. How y'all feel, man? How y'all feel? Me, you know how I feel, man. I'm busting out my Josh Gibson jersey, right? You know how I feel. But if you didn't know, let me let you know. I'm on fire! Woo! My wife probably like, why are you doing that in the hotel? Man, I ain't at one of the mainstream conferences. That's number one. I'm at the Black Educators Rock. That's culturally, it's a little different here, right? So I could pull off that noise, man. So hey, y'all, good to see you. Let me go through my rundown for you. My commentary today, my monologue, I'm still trying to figure out what I call that thing. I just want to share with you a couple of things from my week. Man, I was at the National Association of Elementary School Principals Conference on Monday, speaking there. And they had all these folks there from the virtual AP Leadership Academy. Shout out to the virtual AP Leadership Academy family members all over America and beyond. Just shout out. So every time I'm at a conference and all them folks are in the audience, then I've said this before, after I finish my presentation, I call them up. I say, y'all come on up here and take this group family picture. So that was in Washington at the National Association Elementary School Principals Conference. But then after we take the pic, then I go into my sermon mode, man, and I preach. They get more from me than the conference got. Because, see, they represent this platform. And if anybody that knows me, they know that this platform means more to me than any stage in America. This is it for me. I'm in my element on Saturday morning. Even though I don't do a lot of solos anymore, just being on here with my guests, I'm in my element, man. This is the high point of my week, this Saturday Academy. So when I see them family members, man, I go hard in the paint, you know, for just like 2-3 minutes, man. So then that was that. Then Tuesday, Wednesday, the School Leadership Institute in Charlotte, North Carolina. Oh man, we had a 2 days, man. What a 2 days. If you missed that, you need to get with us next year. I'm leaning on moving it to Chicago, maybe Houston. maybe Dallas, you know, and some of y'all like, bring it to my city. I'm looking for areas where I know I have a lot of name recognition. So those of you out on the West Coast, don't even put a comment on here about California, because I don't have that kind of recognition in California. I don't know why. And if I do, I'm not aware of it, right? But I know like places like Chicago, places like Houston and some others, you know, but I want to be also close to a big airport that has a hub, right? Not some little small airport and then you got to drive a zillion miles or you got to take connections to get there. I want to be near a big airport. So Houston, Dallas, Chicago, you know, that type of thing, right? So, and then lastly, I've been other places, but I'm only highlighting the places where it was virtual AP Leadership Academy. When the School Leadership Institute, that was all Leadership Academy. The whole thing was us, family. So then yesterday I'm at the National Association of Secondary School Principals Conference. And where were we? Oh, Denver. Yeah, we were in Denver, Colorado. I'm in Florida now, but we were in Denver yesterday. And man, I said, where the family at, man? Woo! Man, I brought them people up, man. We took a pic. You see it on Facebook. But my man Josh Tovar videotaped when I went into my sermon. Oh, man. He didn't get the last part when I got into the why and when I really got excited, like amp. I bet the whole convention center heard that part. He didn't get that part, but he got good footage. Go on my Facebook page and check that out. But shout out to all them folks outside in the world who are part of this family, and I see you live and in person, right? Let me move on, y'all, because I want to bring up I got the big time guests here, man. So I want to keep going. Welcome to the first timers. See all the previous sessions on YouTube. There's 167 sessions on there, including the interview videos. I see Donna Sherrigant on here, man. That means she in the session, man. She says share it widely. That means she's here too. You know, the one that's sharing all the time, Donna Sherrigant. She's here. That means she looking at the breakout session presenter right now, but she got the phone, right? She got the phone. She like, I'm watching, but Kafele on here. I love it. I love it. But if y'all ever see me live, don't you have no phone looking at some other presenter. All right, so listen here, y'all. The AP identity is in the bag. Y'all know my new book, The Assistant Principal Identity. I'm not going to get up and get it right now. If you don't have a copy, get a copy, man. It's selling like hotcakes. And get that along with the Assistant Principal 50. Just get the two of them. Go to your other device and just knock it out now. Get it out the way. I got one more thing I want to share with you. I decided in my sleep last night as I was laying down. I was on the treadmill this morning at 1 o'clock. I got to this hotel at 12:30 in the morning. I decided I got to get a workout in. I was on the treadmill at 1 a.m. this morning. And while I was laying there trying to fall asleep, I said, I got to change the name of this platform. I ain't even tell my wife yet. She probably sitting there like, man, what? I got to change the name of this because I'm meeting all these people and they're saying to me, I used to watch you, but I got a promotion. I'm a principal now. So I'm like, and I didn't have a graduation ceremony. They said, I used to, but I'm a principal. So I figured it wasn't relevant anymore. I'm like this. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Not relevant. This is relevant for the Secretary of Education in DC. This is relevant for superintendents. Not relevant for you, first year principal? You graduated from this? Are you kidding me? Nah, that's not what we just keep the AP title in there because that's my core. So I'm changing the name. Check it out, y'all. I can't make it too long because it got to fit in the YouTube title and all that. They only give you 100 characters. It's the new name effective right now. I should have written this down because I might mess it up. The AP, I'm taking out the word virtual. That word was in vogue during the pandemic. It ain't here no more, right? It's called the AP and Principal Kafele's AP and New Principal Academy. I'm taking out leadership because I got to cut down on some letters. Principal Kafele's AP and New Principal Academy, effective immediately. That's the name. I just got to take care of the branding now with my guy. His name is Lonzo, and we're going to get that done for next week. The AP and New Principal Academy. I'm not adding just principal because my focus is not veteran principals. I want them to watch, But my focus, who I'm going to be zeroing in on, is not just the AP, but that brand new principal who think they got it going on, but then they find out, oh, this is a little difficult. Yeah, the AP, Principal Kafele's AP and New Principal Academy. That's the name of this now, effective immediately. Right, immediately. So when you get your new position as principal, don't be hollering at me talking about, well, I'm a principal now. This ain't relevant no more. No, it's probably more relevant now because you was number 2. You could lean on some people. Now you ain't got nobody to lean on. They leaning on you. You need this more than you ever needed it. Right. So that's that. Hey, y'all, I got the big time guest here, man. We let me bring her up here first before I talk about it. We got Dr. Marion Wilson, Superintendent of District 31, the largest district in New York City. It's in Staten Island, or as they say, on Staten Island, and she's doing a phenomenal job. Dr. Wilson, how you feel this morning?
Good morning. I am blazing and on fire for education. Bam!
Bam! Bam! Hey, folks, do me a favor. Give me a thumbs up if my video and audio is good, right? If we're fuzzy, if we're staticky, if we're anything, let me know. And I see you. I see my wife, Kim. Let me know, Kim. What's how we looking? On my end, we look good, but I got a signal that's showing me that we're not good, right? So just are we good, y'all? I see it. 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 Okay, we good. We good. Okay, let's go. Man, our topic today, folks, is instructional leadership. That's a topic that just never gets old. Instructional leadership and coaching. But before we jump into the conversation, I want to read the bio. There's a young man on here, the founder and president of a group called Off School Grounds, OSG, and Dr. Dennis McKeezy. He's on here, as I told you a few minutes ago. And he said something to me. He said something to the audience that resonated with me. He said, there's all these dynamite people out here, and we tend not to know each other. We tend not to know who exists out here. And he put it in the context of Dr. Wilson, who was his assistant principal years ago, and now here she is. She went on and became principal, and now she's superintendent of the largest district in New York City. And she was probably going to tell you this, but since I'm on a roll, I'm going to tell you myself that when she interviewed for her first teaching position, I was doing an internship. They allowed me to lead the summer school that year. That was like 1999, I think.
Yes.
And they allowed me to lead the summer school as an intern, just to see, they wanted to see what I was made of, what I was built out of. And they said, we want you to interview the candidates as they come through. What I know about that. So, but I was so hungry. So Dr. Wilson came by. She wasn't doctor back then. And she came by and I interviewed her and I offered her a position. I called the assistant superintendent of human resources. And I said, she's good. Hire her. And they went on and made the recommendation, and she became a teacher at that school. They moved me to another school for my principalship, but they put her there as a teacher, gifted and talented. And the rest is history. She's a superintendent of the largest district in New York City. And New York City got the largest district in the country, right? So that's where we are. So let me read the bio, y'all. Dr. Marion Wilson has been in education for over 24 years and has worked for the New York City Department of Education for the past 17 years. She believes in excellence in educational equity. She is committed to ensuring that all students can achieve their full potential in order to succeed beyond the 3K-12 system. And her current role as the first Black female community superintendent for District 31 in Staten Island, New York, since March 1, 2021, she supports the district and school teams with her expertise in instructional leadership, strategic data analysis, adult learning theories, professional development, evaluative feedback, equity initiatives, and organizational and systems thinking. Her district encompasses the entire island, where she leads 74 principals overseeing 72 schools. Let me say that again, overseeing 72 schools and 12 early childhood centers. And I'm gonna say again, where she leads 74 principals. representing 54,000 students. Staten Island is the largest district in New York City and larger than many urban districts across the country. Prior to her role, Dr. Wilson started as a gifted and talented teacher in East Orange, New Jersey in 1999, then literacy coach at Harlem Children's Zone, where Dr. Dennis McKeesey was the principal, and the longest serving principal of the Jackie Robinson School in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, New York, for 8 wonderful years. She's an adjunct assistant professor at the City University of New York and has authored publications. During her tenure as principal, the Jackie Robinson School, PS 375K, Brooklyn, New York, received several accolades, including the New York State Proclamation from former state senator, now Mayor Eric Adams, acknowledging the school's removal from the persistently I want y'all to hear this, removal from the persistently failing state designation to a school in good standing with dramatically increased test scores and an A+ rating. Her success story was highlighted in 2 books written by Alan Blankstein entitled Failure is Not an Option, 2nd edition, and The Answer is in the Room. Lastly, Dr. Wilson received her doctorate in education and educational and organizational leadership from the University of Pennsylvania, UPenn, a master's of science from Mercy College, New York, a master's of science from Pace University, New York, and a bachelor's of arts in psychology from Hofstra University. So let me, before we talk, Doc, let me just holler at the audience real quick. There's somebody out there that may be an aspiring leader, or maybe an assistant principal, or maybe a new principal, and you're in some newish capacity, whatever it is, aspiring, you looking up, trying to get there. Let me holler at somebody out there, because sometimes y'all think that the big things happen to certain people, special people, that type of thing, and they do. Some people are just special, but you're special too, somebody out there. So although you're doing whatever it is you do, if you got that big vision and them big dreams, and the audacity to dream, the temerity to dream big dreams that other people can't dream. Because here's this person, Dr. Wilson, that walked into my temporary office for a job as a school teacher. And now, as I keep saying, the superintendent of the largest district in New York, just a short time later. All right. So dream big, y'all. Think big. And then put that dream into action and walk your purpose and passion. Enough said. Hey, Doc, I'm glad to have you here, man. I'm glad. Let's jump into it. I read so much about you, but I want to go beyond the bio now with the question that I ask all my guests as an opening question. As an educator, who is Dr. Marion Wilson?
Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. And I would be remiss if I did not shout you out, because I would not be sitting here if you did not take a chance on me. Internship, no internship, summer of 1999. It was a 20-minute interview, and I thought I bombed it, actually. And you asked the questions about, so tell me about yourself. Why do you want to be a teacher? Transitioning from working in the corporate world and thinking I wanted to be a lawyer, and then teaching was something that I fell upon because I come from a family of educators. So most of my family from Jamaica, shout out to all the Caribbean people on the call, on the podcast, not sure that I wanted it. And I decided after Columbine to make the shift. I don't even know if you know that. And I want to thank you, and I want all the people on the different platforms just to show some virtual love for Principal Kafele, because he didn't have to take that chance. And I remain humble, and I remain grateful, even all these years later, following him. I always call him my informal mentor from a distance. I listened to everything that he said, and I positioned myself as a learner. So I just want to shout you out, and I want to give you your flowers while you're here to tell you thank you so much. And I've never stopped telling that story.
I appreciate you. And even when you said while I'm here, I last night, I get here at 12:30, as I said before. I'm on that treadmill at 1 o'clock because I want to be here as long as possible, right? So did I want to go to sleep? Oh yeah. I mean, I haven't been home since Sunday, but I said I got to get in at least 30 minutes. So I got the 30 minutes in, and that bed right over there. Went to bed and went to sleep, and I feel on fire. So Dr. Wilson, you're obviously extremely talented. You know, all the things I read, the things you sent me about you, the things you do, your initiatives. Why education? You know, because you could have gone in any direction. Why education outside of Columbine?
So think about what Kofi Annan said. Education is a human right. It's the greatest lever and change, especially for students that look like you and me. So I can't change the world. I may not have superpowers, but what I do know is that I have the ability to change the trajectory of a child's life.
Mm.
So I think for me, and I have to also shout out Dr. Elise Griffith because she put us both on. And whether she's on or not, I'm going to tell you, she's another one amazing. And I'm like, thank you to her. Like, I'm always just leading with gratitude. Education for me, growing up in a Caribbean household, so single mother, growing up in the Bronx and Mount Vernon, education wasn't something that she took lightly. Migrating here to the States, she said that once you have a degree, you have an education, you can do anything that you want. You can go anywhere you want. So instilling that in me, it's not for the likes, it's for the love. There's just something so powerful about being an educator. And don't get it twisted. Superintendent or no superintendent, I'm always a teacher. I'm always going to be a teacher and I'm always going to be a learner. So why education? Education is that leveraging tool that helps me be better professionally and personally. I feel that walking into a classroom, we have one chance to get it right with people's children. One chance only. So whether it's pouring into the teachers, pouring into assistant principals, pouring into principals, I feel it's my duty. It's my calling. And some people are going to miss this. They're not going to get it. And I'm not trying to preach to you, but I'm going to preach to you. When God puts a calling and an anointing on your life and you don't follow, you don't listen, he's going to torment you until you get it right. He's going to get in you. I didn't want to get my administrative license, but Dr. Griffith called me in her office one summer and she said, Marion, I think one day I said, oh no, Dr. Griffith, that's not what I want to do. She's like, shut up and listen. Sometimes you just have to listen.
Sounds like her.
Sounds like her, right? So I called my mother that night and I said, and shout out to my big brother, Dennis McKeezy. I love him. And I'm going to get to you in a minute because I'm going to give you your flowers too. Because I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. But Kafele came first. But I love you, brother. But Dr. Griffith said to me, get the degree. I'm like, but I already have a master's in teaching. I don't need another master's. And I used to talk about people that had 2 masters. I'm like, just get the doctorate already. Dr. Griffith told me that morning at 10 o'clock. I called Mercy College at 12 o'clock, made an appointment. I said, Mommy, can you meet me at Mercy? And for those of you not from the New York City area, Mercy wasn't like a high flying educational program, but I got to tell you, they gave me the best quality education to get my licensing. And I thank Dr. Griffith for that because I would have just been sitting there and not done it. And I appreciate her for doing that. So I don't even know if I answered your question, but all I know is you got to do what the Lord tells you to do. And I'm on assignment till he tells me not to do it anymore.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You know, let's go to your principal days. You know, after the teaching, the literacy coaching, you led the effort in removing Jackie Robinson School, Crown Heights, Brooklyn, which Crown Heights is where I started as well, as a 5th grade teacher, 1988. And you removed it from this persistently failing state designation. And I'm reading directly from your bio, to a school in good standing with dramatically increased test scores and an A+ rating. You stayed there for 8 years. Here's my question to you. In hindsight, knowing what you were walking into or learning what you were walking into, depending on just how much you knew about the building, talk to us about either your level of confidence or lack thereof that you were the person for that school.
What a great question. So I emailed you and I texted you because they were protesting. They didn't want me. So let me go to Dennis for a moment now. Let me just sidetrack now. So brother Dennis McKeezy, I was his literacy coach. So when I left East Orange, what's not on my bio, I was scouted by Pearson Scott Swarsman to work with them. They saw me as a facilitator at our old school. I'm still gonna call it John Howard, but it's Bowser now.
Yeah.
They came, they scouted me, they offered me the car, the Amex, work from home, and all that other stuff. And I was like, okay, bye East Orange. I'll see you. I can work from Mount Vernon. I'm not coming back to Jersey anymore because I was doing that commute. So I meet Dennis McKeezy, Dr. Dennis McKeezy, and he changed my life. He told me, he said, "You're a horrible literacy coach, but you're going to make a damn good administrator now. So watch the pattern." Dr. Griffith said it. Now he's pouring into me. He said, "Why don't you apply for assistant principalship?" I was like, New York City's not going to hire me. I have no experience. He said, "Just try it." So 7 assistant principal interviews, level 1. No one ever called me back for level 2. He said, "Sis," he said, "why don't you just apply for a principalship?" And I'm like, "Nah, I don't know." So because I listened to feedback, I said, "Okay, I'm gonna apply to one, but I'm gonna be a wise ass. I'm gonna pick one that they already have somebody there." So I picked it. The morning of the interview, I'll never forget, we had a board meeting with Jeffrey Canada. So I said, "Dennis, I need your help. I'm going on an interview tonight, and here's some sample questions from the internet." He was like, "How many questions are there?" Because he used to call me Jamaica. If he's on listening, I know he remembers the story.
Yeah, he's right here.
He goes, "How many questions?" I said, "There's like about 30 sample questions." He's like, "Get out of here. I'm not going through 30 questions with you. Pick 6. I was like, "Oh man." So I narrowed it down to 6 questions. I narrowed it down to 6 questions.
He told me that story as far as the literacy coach admitted, but I wasn't going to say anything because I didn't know if he said it in confidence. But now he said, "I might tell you, Principal Kafele."
He treated me like an assistant principal when he would, go play golf. And again, I love golf because of him. So people influence your life in ways that everlasting. So he said, "Just practice the 6." So he told me how to fine tune my answers. I went on that level 1 interview that night with this confidence that they gave 3 minutes for each questions. I answered it in like a minute and a half. So I was like, all right, something is not good here. I don't think I'm gonna get it. So I call him on the way home from Brooklyn. He was like, "Sis, you got this." A day later, I got a call. "Oh, we want to invite you back for level 2. So he goes, "All right, you got this." He said, "Go to ShopRite, buy some fruit, invite them up." I said, "Buy fruit? Why am I buying fruit?" So he's like, "Just trust me on this." So he comes in and I can see the hurt in his eyes because he didn't want to lose me and I didn't want to leave him. And what's funny about our story, we went to Hofstra together, but we never knew each other. My goddaughter's mom, and we made the connection anyway. Again, God's destiny put us and brought us back together. And I'm so appreciative to him for it. So anyway, so he preps me. I kill it level 2. The other person that was there, great brother, but he just didn't make it. I started May 30th, 2006. So this was the fast track. So think about entering a principalship May in a system you don't know, where people don't know you. And my mother was very smart. My name, Marion Wilson. You don't know if I'm a man. You don't know if I'm Black. You don't know if I'm white. You don't know anything about me. But I know people were protesting at Tweed with Joel Klein and didn't want me to come. "We want the other principal. He's been here all year." So that does something to your confidence, hearing they don't want you. So they hid me at central office for a whole week. Wow. But guess what I did in that week? I studied the organizational sheet. So if they said, "Oh, Baruti Kafele is a 5th grade teacher here, or used to be a 221 down the block from Jackie Robinson," I was like, okay. So I took my notes, asked my questions online, Googling everything. Then I said, okay. So they said, "Well, when can I go in?" There's like, "Just wait, let things simmer down." So hear me now. I go, "Well, I don't have to take the job. I don't want the other man not to get it. I'll step down. Dennis loves me. I can just stay at Harlem Children's Zone." And by the way, Dennis, I'm gonna put this on camera now, the podcast. You called out the whole week when it was my last week, but I know I didn't want to leave because I cried writing my letter of resignation to you. That's how deep it was, the bond in those 10 months working with him. He forever changed my life. But he was sick the week that I was leaving and I never saw him. But we still kept in touch 17 years later. So anyway, long story short, I walk in June 6, 2006. So 666, okay. Mark of the beast, but it wasn't. I walk in and I'm like, "Good morning. Hi, I'm Miss Wilson. I'm so happy to be the new principal here. I can't wait." UFT chapter leader. So those of you not from New York City, let me put this disclaimer out. I'm representing myself today. I'm not representing as an agent of the DOE. Just want to make sure I put that out there on record, on camera. We don't want you here. We want the old principal. One by one, everyone started getting up and leaving the auditorium. What do you think that does to someone's confidence? Already nervous, not being officially an AP, coming in from another system. And I'm just like, what did I get myself into? And I'm driving in and I'm listening to my gospel music and I'm all excited and just like, but walking into the building that morning, kids got off the bus. And I get kids know. Group of kids saw me, and I'm standing outside waiting for the superintendent at the time to walk me in. I'm backing up my story. I'm sorry. This is a very important part. I love you too, Doc. I love you too. Um, Little boy says, "Hey, lady, are you the new principal here?" I said, "Why would you think I'm the new principal? Why do you ask that?" He said, "Because you look like a principal. You're dressed in your suit. You look like a principal." I said, "And how would you feel about that?" He said, "I would be so happy." And he gave me a hug.
Wow.
So as they were walking out the auditorium, I remember that little boy. I remember what he said to me. And even with the setup, they locked the doors. I didn't know which key was which. They didn't show me how to use the Galaxy or the budgeting system. And they literally started walking out one by one. But let me tell you the strategy. Let's go back to studying that organizational sheet. So hey, so Baruti, you worked out 221. Oh, okay. You live in Jersey City, right? Oh, da 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 da. Oh, do you know that? And I started making connections with people and figuring out ways in that human dynamic and building relationships. And I had one teacher that still continued to walk by. "Well, I don't want you here. Nothing personal against you, Miss Wilson, but I want the old principal." I said, "Well, you could
Wow.
go with him. There's 1,700 schools in New York City. Bye."
That's bold. Wow.
So that, so your confidence is shaken, but then when God gives you what he needs, he never gives you more than you can bear. And I'm going to tell you, the first year was a little shaky. A lot of things happened because they were not used to the consistency. So again, 8 years at that school, longest principal they ever had at the school. It's like one of those experiences like I didn't know what I didn't know. So when I emailed you, you were like, "Sis, really think about if you want to do this, because if they doing all of this," he said, "but you said to me in the email, if you feel this is the right move for you, go for it and do it all your heart."
Yeah.
And then I read one of your books and I was like, "Okay, I'm going to do this." And I brought you in to talk to my staff. I was like, "Oh yeah, we're going to do this." But I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you, it was about getting the right people on the bus, because some people are trying to get at me because just of the title. And
Yeah.
others really believed in what I wanted to do, how I wanted to change things. And when we were designated in New York City, the state designation was school in need of improvement, persistently failing. It was a chancellor's district. So by the time I got my doctorate, I said to them, the D rating we got on the school does not stand for diva. It does not stand for Dion. This is failing. And I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna say, okay, young, relatively young Black woman with an advanced degree. They close the school. You think I'm gonna be okay? I will be, but will you be okay? And when I galvanize my teachers, I'm gonna tell you, by the time we had a quality review, people were in the building to 10 o'clock at night making sure we were okay. Our school became a model that people come looking in. So when I tell you, shout out to my Jackie Robinson people, if anyone there. I know some of my Staten Island families here, Principal Contento, Principal
Yeah.
Elias is on with me. I have some wonderful people. And because of the relationship with Dennis, Dennis came in to help me. Dennis was shoulder to shoulder. He gave me some feedback that I didn't want to hear. But all you leaders, current and future, take the feedback. Don't get in your feelings. You have to be able to listen. When someone pours into you, sometimes it doesn't feel good. You don't want to hear it, but you must listen. Dennis came and was like, "Okay, sis, this is good, but you got to do this. You got to do that." So wrapping up with the confidence piece, I'm a confident person, but we all have our insecurities. And I don't feel like I'm this great person everyone makes me out to be. But I know our sister got it going on. So I know when I walk into a room, and Dennis shared this with me, this is the last piece he said to me. He said, "Marion, even if you walk into a room and don't say anything, they're going to see your hair. They're going to see your nails. They're going to see the heels, the pocketbook. You send a message just by your presence. Your presence alone sends a statement." And I was like, "Dennis, you're right." And I'm not going to shy down and try to make you feel better in a thing, because I'm going to lift you up too.
Yeah.
Anyone who knows me, I'm always trying to lift up the next person. The way I'm still showing humility to both you and Dennis and all the other people in my life that help me, I do the same thing. But I think you have to develop that confidence and the resilience. If you know your purpose, and your purpose is about helping kids, let the noise comes, let the attack comes, let the distractions come, and stay focused.
I love it. I love it. Hey, y'all, hit that share button. Hit that retweet button. Let them know we are here. Hit that like button. Let them algorithms know we are here. And once again, new name is not on the screen yet, but we are Principal Kafele's AP and New Principal Academy. because folks who are getting these principalships as a result of watching this platform, as they tell me, think they graduated and this is no longer relevant. It is. Hey, Doc, keep in mind, I got like 15 more questions. Right?
Oh, gee. Okay. All right. I hear you.
Because some of what you're saying is actually embedded in some of those questions.
Okay.
So here we go. You arrived at Jackie Robinson School in Brooklyn, Crown Heights, and you're this new principal. And I got everything that you just said. But now you walk in there. In your mind, what are you thinking when you look at the landscape of the school and you're thinking, what do I need to do first? And I ask you this question not so much for you per se. I'm asking you this question because there are people on this call right now live or who will see this video later on, and they're going to be walking into a school as the principal for the first time in their lives. So here, I'm asking you, you're looking at the landscape. What are you thinking? What do I need? Where do I start? Where'd you start?
So that's a great question. So the first summer was really just kind of getting to know the lay of the land, policies, the structures, the dynamic, who was who was the teacher that carried the most clout. So New York City had a structure called the Leadership Academy. And even though I didn't go through Leadership Academy, they had onboarding and mentoring for new principals. And one of the things they taught me was the Boyle's Matrix. So Boyle's Matrix, you put people in quadrants, willing and able, unwilling and able, and kind of basically figuring out who's who. So within 3 weeks on the job, I had to make some decisions about who's going to get terminated. So it's about visiting classrooms that they locked me out of because they had the double doors. I didn't have the keys or anything. So I had to figure out who's teaching, who's not teaching. Because even in June, you should be teaching. We're public servants. Children should be learning. So you can't go in hard and heavy and telling people, well, this is not right. This is not going to cut it anywhere else. You have to think about. So I had to think about who I had on my team, who I knew was definitely for me, and whether it was genuine or not, just who was going to be on board, who I know hated me that was going to transfer by the end of the year, and who was like straddling the fence. So remembering some of the tools that I learned from that first couple of summer sessions about what to do, what not to do as a leader, really about building climate and culture first. They had to get to know me because they don't know me. They don't know who I am. They don't know anything about me. There's like, oh, she's going to be like the next one. Here's the other part we forgot to mention. I was the 6th principal in 5 years.
5
So
years.
they thought I was going to just leave like everyone else. And they were like, if she's not going to stay, she's not going to want to be here. So really having to let them get to know me, let them see who I am. So getting to know the folks was very critical. So if you have an opportunity to become a principal, try to get your hands on that organizational sheet, do your research, know who's connected to who. I started drawing those web diagrams. I knew if I got to this person was going to influence the other person. So I didn't have to talk to the other person. So building culture was the first thing. Then I had to assess the quality of education. Everyone was doing their own thing. They had basals. Some kids were not even learning. The room environments looked awful. Like it looked like a prison. Then I had to, so physical environment, climate and culture, instructional quality of materials, all these things coming up. So I put a team together and I always made sure that we surrounded ourselves with a core text that we were using. So her name escapes me. Dennis will know her name. Oh my God, the one that does the retreat, she passed away. I can't remember her name. You know who she is too. She's a powerhouse. She used to help us out in District 5 when I was there. I can't remember her name, but anyway, she said, have a retreat. So Dennis gave me that as my gift as a first-year principal. Dennis gave me the gift of giving me her book and planning a retreat. Went to my budget meeting. They said, you don't have money for a retreat. Even though you're a Title I school, there's no money. I said, well, I'm having a retreat. No, you're not. Yes, I am. Had a retreat, found a nice hotel near JFK, bought them books, did all of that. So now there's like, okay, wait, let's see what sis is talking about here, because no one has ever taken us on a retreat before, but we use the time to plan and galvanize. And I'm like, okay, now I see. Make sure they had good food. They had their little swag bags and everything like that. And I said, this is what we.
Lorraine Monroe.
Yes, Lorraine Monroe. Thank you, Juanita. Thank you. Yes.
I mentioned her this morning too.
Yes. Yeah. So Dennis gave me her as a gift to just talk to her and just listening. And that really changed my perspective of how you build everything together. So anyway, long story short, prioritize getting to know your people, having a retreat. You're digging into what is it that we want to do, because you have people that care about kids. And if you get them on the same page and in a nice space, and they know that you value them, there's nothing they wouldn't do for you. And I think that really helped to change what happened with us going forward. So learning environment, instructional quality, climate and culture. And a lot of people left that summer, but it was fine. It was fine.
You know, you talked about the environment, and then you just mentioned the words climate and culture. So that takes me into this thought. Talk to us about the culture that you inherited and what you felt needed to be done for that culture to be conducive to your vision for the school.
So it was very toxic. People thought it was a competition. It's not a competition. We're not competing against each other. We're competing to make sure we're the best for our kids. And I think contextualizing when we had to change of leadership at Central, had to let them know that this has to be more than a paycheck for you. Because many times people have this, misnomer that, oh, you're educators, you get off for the summer. I had to make sure that you were there for the right reason. And if you were not there about kids, so don't do it for me, do it because of the gratification you're going to get. And once people started feeling success, and I started letting them feel success, they didn't feel so embattled and broken down. It really shifted things. So I think for me, so my undergraduate degree was in psychology. Boy, did I not know that 90% of my job was going to be about psychology. Because again, as a change of career educator, there's a lot of things about education I didn't know. I didn't come straight out of college. I was in law school and I dropped out. So really honing in on the human dynamics and the people are going to be your greatest lever. So getting the people to help me change climate and culture, the toxicity. And, I had people thinking that I was planted there, just so many conspiracy theories. I had to get them refocused again. So your teaching point of view is, what do you believe in? I believe all children can learn. They can learn at different spaces, different times, different spaces, but it's what we do, what we pour into them. I also had to let them know, even if we couldn't get them to mastery and proficiency, they had to show progress. And up to this day, I'm the same way. They can't come into your classroom in September and they leave the same way in June. So I think when I started helping people get those small wins, those quick wins, that change and help to change the environment. But again, pouring into them, I'm gonna give you all the resources you need. No excuse, now go teach my babies. Teach my babies.
Love it, love it. So then here you are, you're looking at the landscape, the culture, and then where the rubber meets the road is instruction, teaching and learning in the classroom. But we got this brand new rookie principal here who does have the literacy background, the GT background. So your background is solid. Talk to us then. And again, I want to keep emphasizing for the audience, because I'm always thinking about the folks who are tuning in. I shouldn't say audience. That's sort of impersonal. The family, my family, our family who's out there this morning. Talk to us about your initial impressions of teaching and learning as you walked those halls and walked into those classrooms, and what you felt I need to do to ensure that this school gets out of this D rating into this, ultimately this A+ rating.
So I'm going to assume mostly everyone on this platform saw Lean On Me. I felt like Josephina Clark. That's how I felt walking through. No, seriously. And then no pun intended, Jackie Robinson baseball bat, had one in my office. I got accused of doing some with a bat too, which wasn't true, but distractions. Very poor. Nothing on the wall, nothing. The materials they were using were antiquated. People have teachers have those charts that have the, you can tell that it's old paper. I saw, they had no clue what they were doing. They were just there and they were like babysitting. I didn't really feel that they were teaching kids where they needed to. Talk about standards, let's forget about it. There was no standards. Thinking about the curriculum materials, just whatever they found in the closet they use. So I think for me going in, I had to prioritize, what are we using to teach our kids? So for those of you who are familiar with Dr. Richard Elmore, he's a guru in my mind, medical doctor that became, helped education with instructional rounds. And you think about the instructional core, I want you to think about curriculum, pedagogy, and assessment. Sometimes people interchange it with student, but I want to just stick there for a minute. So get your pens and papers and get ready to be schooled. If it's not in the core, it's not there. You change one part of the core, you got to change the whole thing. So I couldn't just go in and say, okay, we're going to change curricula and that's it. We had to change pedagogical practices. We had to change how we were assessing students. And back in those days, as a rookie principal, I didn't know some of the terms that I know now with experience and time, but I knew that we had to just, whatever you were doing before, don't do it because it was wrong. It wasn't working. Kids were not learning. So thinking about the curricula we were using, and I remember calling Dennis, and I think at the time he was working with a school in Long Island, and he said, can you send me some curriculum materials? Can you help me out? Like, give me something. I gave them something. I said, now make it your own. So I remember Dr. Harry Wong said, copy and steal everything case. We took it. I said, now adjust it based on the data that you have, and this is what we're going to do. But I never just told them to do something. I modeled with them, shoulder to shoulder. My principals on the call now can tell you, I'll go into a room and I'll take over a lesson if I see it not going anywhere, because I don't have the time to lose time to wait and have the feedback conference and sit down. If there's a moment, I'm going to jump in. So I would jump in, I would model for them, I would show them. When they did not have an opportunity to put up even just experience charts for kids, I called a bunch of school aides and I said, okay, let's go on our HGTV makeover. Let's get some charts up for people. So I think they saw that it was about right now. Let's not just talk about it. I'm going to help you and I'm going to be shoulder to shoulder. When Danielson came out, it was a big shift for New York City. I sat in the trainings with my teachers. I let them experience it. So instruction for me was about letting them understand how the curriculum played in with their pedagogy and how we were going to assess it to make the needed adjustments. And I think that has been my driving force from 2006 when I started, even to this day now in Staten Island, same thing. Thank you, Juanita.
Yeah. I'm thinking, and I'm still in that new principal mode. So here you are, you're in the school, you're assessing the landscape of the school instructionally, culturally, all the components. And my question to you then, thinking about the family that's out there once again, at what point did you feel that I can begin to create synergy, meaning I can begin to tap into others, empower others, where I'm utilizing the talents, the human capital in the building beyond job description, where you were building a team of educators at your school? When did that process begin?
I would say, so my first year, so if people not from New York City, we had something called quality reviews. And at that time we had, oh, thank you, Principal Campbell. Love you. Yeah.
He's going to be on here too. I just haven't reached out to him yet.
I love him. That was my first hire as superintendent. Yes. For me, first year principal, having a quality review, a team of people coming in from Cambridge, London, telling you how horrible your school is and all the things you're not doing for children. And I remember getting a call that I was under investigation in the middle of it and broke down crying. And he said to me, he said, Marion, you know a lot about instruction, but there's a gap. And we were in my conference room at the time. He said, there's a gap between what you know and what they know. Something has to change. And I think you're going to be brilliant and you're going to be wonderful, but you must bridge the gap. So I said, okay. So after I cried, he said, do you need a moment? Because he didn't know what to do with me crying. And I shouldn't have been checking emails in the middle of the meeting. But he said, the core is weak. And we got ineffectives and developings on that review. They were in the school for like 2 or 3 days. And when I came back out, I told the assistant principal and some coach, literacy coach and the math coach, I said, guys, I can't do this by myself. I'm going to need your help. I said, we're fighting this losing battle here. And it's embarrassing for people to come from England and tell us that we're whack. I don't even have a doctorate word to say we were whack. We got to do something different. So we took the, hi, Miss Latouche. We took the report, we broke it down. We said, okay, let's see where we can leverage expertise. And Miss Latouche is one of them too. Like, she was one of my teachers, Soldier Strong, 17 years. She didn't have a background in teaching L students. And we had like a quarter of our students were L's and a quarter of our students with special needs. I said, you know how to teach and you know early literacy, I'm gonna need you. And I went in and started figuring out who were those people that I can really lean in on to help? Because Dennis said, you can't get to everyone. You can't do everything yourself. You're going to have to leverage people. So starting taking a pre-K teacher that I knew instruction to help him help early childhood, just putting people in strategic places. And the one thing is about transparency. I never kept any feedback to myself. So if the superintendent came in, there was a review, I told them what they said, but I said, I'm not doing this to break you down. Let's look at it. So when they come back again, because I love to prove people wrong, let's change this. So I think really honing in on the expertise. And again, I had to lean in on some people that this is not the right place for you. This was not the right place because I believe in kids. This was not a paycheck. This is a life that we can change. And being across the street from Ebbets Field, we were a Title I school. We had like a high population of kids that were transferring in and out, chronic absenteeism. They deserved better. They deserve better. So getting the people on board, I think, was my biggest push year one, but giving them the feedback from that first quality review. So I was on the job like 6-7 months and getting a quality review, but it was the best thing that happened, I think, to help us reach that turning point.
You know, you just schooled me. I have always wondered where Ebbets Field was. You know, for the folks out there, Dodgers, Brooklyn Dodgers, Jackie Robinson, the stadium is no longer there. Mm-hmm. But I've wondered where in Brooklyn was it? So, and I know where your school was. So it was right. So that's why they call it Jackie Robinson.
Yeah. So we were the parking lot. Part of the school is a parking lot, and part of his bat is planted in the front of the building. So we met Ralph Branca, poured into the school. We met his wife. So we're the only school that legitimately was named after him because of where Ebbets Field was located. So historical, phenomenal place. Yeah. So it was history.
I got to drive back over there now to just look at it from a different, different lens. You know, I left this on the screen. Doris Tejada, you are clearly brand new. Will there be a recording available to share? The channel you're watching us on LinkedIn, it'll be there forever. That's number one. But you can also go to YouTube and watch them all 168 of these, including this one. It's being streamed live on YouTube, 2 Facebook pages, Twitter, my pages, Twitter, and where you are at LinkedIn. So it's here forever. So you can always refer back to this one and all the ones going back to week 1. This is the 168th consecutive week. I haven't missed a Saturday since I started this. Let's move on. Instructional leadership. There was something on here that I wanted. There's folks asking you questions, and I want to stay focused. So if you get a chance over time, check out some of these questions, and because I just want to keep my focus, because we'll be being on here all day, and I got to do a panel discussion later on. So instructional leadership, you know, Doc, and you know this jargon in education, depending on who you ask, you'll get a definition. So like I always say, you bring 25 equity warriors to a platform and ask each of them to define equity, you'll probably hear 25 different responses. There'll be some common threads and some similarities, but everybody's got a perspective on that, you know, and there's some perspectives out there that I just can't tolerate, you know, and then there's others I embrace fully. So there's just different perspectives out there. Instructional leadership, it's the same thing. So as we dive into this instructional leadership, the first thing I want to do is ask you, as someone who's doing this work at a very high level, as a superintendent of schools, when you hear the words or the term instructional leadership or the title instructional leader, what does that mean to you? What is that?
You have to know instruction. So I loved. Can you hear me? I don't know if I froze. You froze.
No, you good.
Okay, so Nellis Regis is on here too, another powerhouse that I knew back when. Self-contained teacher that had kids with IEPs and couldn't speak the language, but yet outperformed my monolingual kids every year. So shout out to her, another powerhouse. Knowing to go into her classroom and sit in the back and learn, because I never took any classes about special ed. So instructional leadership is I know what I know. Because again, let's go back to John Howard. Yes, I was teaching a gifted class, but those kids really didn't need me. I mean, they were competing against Switzerland and Sweden and all these other places, but it's really about understanding your craft. So, instructional leadership for me, whether thinking about as principal, even now as superintendent, and I refer to Nellis and Antoinette because they knew me back when. And every time we have a meeting, because they're on my team now, you haven't changed, Marion. Dr. Wilson, you're the same way. It's about understanding. Don't come to me with a bunch of jargon and thinking that you're sounding so sophisticated and like a scholar. I want to know the meat and potatoes. Is what you're doing working? So let's go back to the instructional core again. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to keep beating this over your head. If you don't understand what your teachers are using to teach kids, that's a problem. You got to sit on those curriculum meetings. You have to know what's there. So balanced literacy, like New York City is doing something now. New York City Reads. I'm all on board. Shout out to Chancellor Banks for what he's trying to do to change the game in education now. It is a crime to have kids coming into our schools and they can't read. They can't read and they're not learning. So instructional leadership for me, understanding curriculum. So I teach a course on assessments. If you want to know where do I start today, go look at formative assessment. Shout out to Paul Bloomberg, Core Collaborative too. Love him. I don't know if he's on the call, but he's another one that helps to change my life, and Dr. Goldie Muhammad. So let's think about assessments for a minute now. We assess.
November, by the way.
I'm sorry?
She'll be on in November.
Oh, I love her. Oh, Dr. Goldie has my heart. You assess, and the assessment should tell you what needs to change. And I think that's something critical as an instructional leader. You have to go in. So you can talk about data analysis. We can over assess, but are you getting at the right information that tells you what needs to be adjusted and what's revised? So for me, I always start with the assessment piece because you have to know, are the kids learning? So when you look at it vertically, if most of the kids aren't getting it, it's not the kids, it's your teaching. And my realness gets me in trouble sometimes, but the facts are the facts. Numbers don't lie. Horizontally, one-offs, okay, that's something else. But it's your job as an instructional leader to help people. If they don't understand it, I'm supposed to provide professional learning. I'm supposed to coach you. I'm supposed to help you through those things. All right, this doesn't work. Okay, let's try this. Let's do this. But I think as an instructional leader, you have to understand the relationship with formative assessments, with curriculum, pedagogy. You have to find the right tools to teach the children that you're in front of. So the mayor one time met with us a few months ago. Why is it that some classrooms still look like 1860 where they're sitting in rows and the teacher's at the front of the room? We're now in 2023. The pandemic has taught us a lot of things. We can't do the old things and expect to get different results. That's insanity. So an instructional leader has to be kept up. Like, I stay reading. I'm current on research. I'm experiencing it. Okay, this looks great in theory. Bring me somewhere where I can see it. So you have to go visit. You have to plan intervisitations. All of my principals that are on the call now. So good morning. Principals on the call, they know they're part of principal inquiry groups. That's what people across the country are not doing. So you've heard of teacher inquiry groups. My principals are doing inquiry groups now because instructional leadership for them as well, they have to really understand instruction. And if you don't have the core and understand what a strong core means, you're going to just be putting Band-Aids on it, and we're going to just graduate children who really come out and know nothing at all. So an instructional leader has to understand curriculum, pedagogy, and assessment.
Curriculum, pedagogy, assessment, folks. I got new people on here. We got new people on here, Doc. Curriculum, pedagogy, assessment. 3 absolutely critical components. You know, Doc, along those lines then, curriculum, pedagogy, assessment. There's a leader watching right now, I just have to assume, because of just my experience of being out here in the world. There's a leader out on here right now, or who will watch the video later saying, I hear you, Dr. Wilson, I hear you, Kafele, but you don't understand what I'm up against in my school. I got so much stuff going on. Yes, I evaluate 25 teachers. In fact, let me make this person an AP or a new principal. I evaluate 25 teachers. I'm being stretched in a zillion different directions, and I got discipline issues in my school. You're telling me to be an instructional leader, an instructional coach, to focus on curriculum, to focus on pedagogy, and focus on assessment. And I got all this stuff. I'm worn out. I'm burnt out. I go home exhausted. I don't get to sleep. I don't get to eat. Help me, Dr. Wilson. I want to be what you're saying, but I can't in my reality, within my reality right now. Holla.
They're acting out because you're boring them. They're acting out because you haven't engaged them. So when I was a quality reviewer, I was a beast, and I'm unapologetic about it. I would walk into people's schools that people thought were well-developed and great, and I developed a reputation. Oh, she's tough. No, I'm not tough, but if I'm looking at the data and you can't show me impact about what your moves around those 3 areas I just spoke to you about, sorry, you're not so great. So I think for me, really honing in on, if you deal with instruction and as an instructional leader, you're in the classrooms all the time, the more you model for them, set your expectations. I have very clear non-negotiables, and I can always share that if you want to reach me offline, dpenconsulting@gmail.com.
Give me that again.
DEE, pen like in pen, consulting@gmail.com. And I'll put it in the chat as well.
Yeah.
You have to have clear non-negotiables about what you want to see in your classrooms. We had discipline problems too. We had kids running the hallway, kids threatening teachers. We had kids running out the building. I was like, oh, no, not on my watch. Once we started getting at the curriculum and making those changes that I spoke about earlier, we started seeing a decrease. But there needed to be a clear approach to not making children feel like they're in prison. Like suspending them is not something that I'm going to advocate for. We have a discipline code we must follow, but did anyone stop to speak and see why did he act out? And many times when I spoke to my kids is because of something the teacher did that triggered them. So understanding triggers was very important. But then let's forget about that for a second. You have a class, just because they're special needs doesn't mean you have to talk to them, you have to yell at them and scream at them. Do you understand universal design for learning? So I love when people throw around the term differentiation. I'm a differentiate. How are you getting at the multiple means of representing information for them? How are you engaging them? Do you really know what engagement means? Engagement means I have the right resources. I'm looking at the data and I'm planning activities in small groups to help them. I'm doing what they need in service of children. So yes, new leader, assistant principal. And let me tell you, shout out to Staten Island assistant principals because almost 200 of them, but they are amazing people that are helping to really lift and move this work, because principals alone, we can't do it. And I'm a principal superintendent. I don't know if I said that before, but I'm gonna say that now. If you prioritize being in classrooms, so I remember when I know I wanted teachers to do more formative assessment strategies, I said, fake me out at first. Every time you see me walk into your classroom, have a clipboard with a blank piece of paper. I don't even expect anything to be on it, because anything you do 20 days becomes habit. Eventually, then you're going to start putting the standards. So let's remember, the curriculum is not about these programs. I worked at Scotts Forsman. My bonus wasn't if the kids learn. My bonus was if more people got the program. So I'm just going to say that. It's not about programs. It's about curricula. It's about the standards, what you're teaching. So kids come out where they're supposed to be in relation to grade level standards. So let's go back to now the teachers. Now they have the clipboard. Then I said, okay, good. You have it in your hand every time you see me, because I'll just pop it into classrooms. Not a formative, evaluative. I wasn't writing them up, just quick little pop-ins. And then I created this is old school now, a yellow, pink, and white sheet that every time I went in, a glow and a grow. Oh, great. I saw you had your clipboard. Next time when I come in, I would love to see you write down even conference notes or observing. The powerful tool of observing, giving kids, let them figure things out, and observing them is something that's missed. Eventually, they started creating these sophisticated charts for me. Then they started seeing how that data played into what they were going to teach. Because many times when the state assessments came up, they didn't get to certain areas because it's like, oh, well, we were following the curriculum from page 1. I said, it's not your Bible. You're not reading it from Genesis. Like, stop.
Right.
Look at what they need. So I think really helping them get those skills and understanding what formative assessment was a game changer for us. Because remember, I gave them the curricula, but now I'm telling you those research-based pedagogical strategies you need to use. We started seeing a decrease in those disruptive behaviors. Kids felt valued. And let me shout out to, from 2006, having those student focus groups and student government, they told me what teachers were doing so that I can go back in and help them. Once we started making it about learning, this is a learning environment, a safe space you're coming into, you're going to have to either do the right thing by my kids. I'm going to say it again. This is not the right place for you, and I'm not the right one.
I love it. I love it. Before I proceed, every 12 o'clock, we take a station break. The old virtual AP Leadership Academy, which is now the Principal Kafele's AP and new Principal Academy, so that the new folks don't think we had a graduation, is sponsored by the Assistant Principal Identity. Y'all like how I do it,
love it.
right? The Assistant Principal Identity. If you don't have a copy yet, what you waiting on? Go to Amazon right now and get yourself a copy. If you're looking at me on your phone, go to your tablet, go to your computer, whatever it is, but get yourself a copy of the Assistant Principal Identity. And subtitle, Protecting Your Leadership Mindset, Fervor and Authenticity. And if you get it from Amazon, be sure to leave me a rating. If you're going to do me, then don't rate me, right? But if you're going to give me something positive, give me some good energy, because sometimes people, they'll put ratings. These are people that probably don't like me because they usually don't attack the book, they attack me, right? So, and so I got to live with that. But, get yourself a copy and get the AP 50 to go along with the Assistant Principal 50. And now that I added new principal in the title, get yourself the Principal 50. And Is My School a Better School Because I Lead It, right? So just get all them books on Amazon. Let's get back to it.
Can I talk about that for a second, though? I'm sorry to interrupt your flow, and I'm not taking over the
You're good.
You came and spoke to my principals in January, and you forever changed them. I conducted a principal observation, a formal observation in ending of May, beginning of June. And the principal shared with me it forever changed his life. Having them reflect, is the school better because they're leading it? And remember, things are more than just test scores. What's the quality of teaching and learning? What's happening with kids? And I don't care what party line you're affiliated with. I don't care about your income level. Parents want their children to learn and want them to be better. And this principal shared with me saying that you were supposed to come in October. Your schedule was busy. You're supposed to come in November. January was the perfect time when we did the mid-year reflection. And as an instructional leader, you have to be able to look at the data and use that opportunity to make those shifts that you need to make. Same thing teachers have to do. We just do it at a systems level, whether at the school or the district level. You're changing how people are thinking about whether this is right for them. This is not for everyone. And a comment earlier was like, how do you deal with the resistors? You don't. You show them the receipts. You get better and you show impact. You have to tell your story about impact. It's not just about the soft qualitative data. You have to be able to show the impact of the work that you're doing. And especially if it's about getting everyone on board with teaching strategies or curricula that they're using, show your impact. The what doesn't last that long. It's the so what. I just had to say that. Sorry. Wow.
It's the so what. Y'all hear that? It's not the what. It's the so what. Right. That's a powerful piece there. I gotta maybe infuse that into my work. Right. So, Doc, instructional leadership, because I want to stay here for the duration now. That I'm thinking about that school that scenario I just gave. Here's the question. Can my low performing school elevate academically? And when I say academically, I don't mean solely test scores, but just achievement. Can I elevate with a leadership that lacks a focus and an expertise in instructional leadership?
Oh boy. So let's talk about feedback. So that was one of the part of the email I sent to you. And I'm going to toot my horn for a second. I know I get very good feedback, but you have to be open to listen to it. So this person will not probably be on the call, but if you don't know the work about Dr. Ellie Drager-Severson, she's someone that I really want you to look into. So Columbia University, she wrote a book, Tell Me So I Can Hear. Another piece, and then I end up writing something for Learning Forward, and we can also share that as well, where I combine the Boyle's Matrix, where I told you I started off with Ellie's work, because adults learn differently. So when you think about someone who's not an instructional leader, you have to think about, are they willing to do the work, and do they have the capacity to do the work? Now, if you don't have the capacity, I can help build it by sending you to training, doing shoulder to shoulder. But if you're resistant, I don't know. We're not going to work. So if you don't know instructional leadership and you're resistant, that's a formula for disaster. So thinking about the feedback now, whether it's from the district office, whether it's from your principal, if you're an AP, being able to incorporate feedback. So there's a book I remember, Tell Me, Thanks for the Feedback, I think. People can give you 5 or 6 sets of feedback around instructional leadership. You may not take everything, but know which one is going to give you the highest lever and the biggest bang for your buck. So in giving feedback, I'm always going to tell people, okay, so you're saying you're doing it this way, you're not getting the results. You can blame me, blame the books, blame the air, blame the smog that came from Canada. At the end of the day, I'm looking at you and holding you accountable. So if I'm giving you the feedback, I'm giving you the toolkit. I'm always going to give you some kind of research, but I'm not going to leave you by yourself. I'm going to sit with you, try to be a thought partner and try to figure it out. But I need you to do your part as well, because it's always changing. But the more things change, the more they stay the same. So let's go back to what I said earlier. The things I did as a principal, I'm still doing as a superintendent because I'm a principal superintendent. I will never forget those 8 powerful years. Longest job I've held in my career and one of the best. But you have someone who doesn't know instructional leadership, check out the professional standards for educational leaders. And the reason why I love this one so much is both for APs and principals.
Give me that again.
The professional standards for educational leaders, PSEL. It's the former ISLIC standards. If you're interviewing for a job, get to know it and frame some of your answers around it. So standards for kids, standards for teachers, standards for adults. And if you start looking and helping to reflect about these are the areas about curriculum instruction and pedagogy that I don't really get or I have to work on, then you find professional learning opportunities. So what I did, I make sure I sign up for webinars. I went to trainings. I went to all those conferences. Don't just stay in your space, because what you think is good instructionally there may not be good. So taking feedback, but also being reflective. And I think for me, the ability to go in and I can walk into a classroom and I have a gift. They used to laugh at me at the QR office and said, so Dr. Wilson walks into a school and she goes, I think this is a effective school. Because when I walked in, my first impressions about what they told me, and they were trying to sell me this story, I can go in and peel back the onion. And all I need is one kid to tell me, yeah, we're only doing it because the visitors come in, but we normally don't sit in groups and get to talk to one another.
Yeah.
So feedback, being reflective, going out, learning. I position myself as a learner. I know what I know, but I'm constantly learning, constantly reading.
You know, let me just stay there. Let me just piggyback what you just said, folks. We have to be readers. We have to be learners, right? Learning is not confined to reading, but we've got to be committed to, if not obsessed with, learning. That's got to be an inherent part of your lane, folks, that you're learning something new. That's why this platform is here. And Dr. Wilson is dropping so much information here. You know, a lot of people say to me, they say, I'm gonna have to rewind it and watch it again later and a few times, all that. And I know this is one of those ones that a lot of you out there, you're gonna want to watch it over and over because she's dropping so much, but it's coming so fast. And I know you got to process, you got to probably write some things, but that's what it's about. You know, so Doc, you know, there's an AP watching right now, and you know, everybody knows my little mantra. The assistant principalship is the most misunderstood and underutilized position in all of education. I'll take that to my grave. I believe that with every fiber of my being. So there's an assistant principal out there who said, yeah, I'm one of them. I watch the academy every Saturday. I want to do all these things I hear, but then my reality is I go back to the school and I'm with the principal that does not watch the academy, that does not expose him or herself to the information out there that would allow me to be one of those instructional leaders. So instead, I have the capacity to be a great instructional leader, but my reality is I'm a full-time disciplinarian. Then lunch periods, I supervise the cafeteria. Then at the end of the day, I'm loading buses and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then I'm also the inventory clerk and, you know, doing all that kind of stuff. So this person is screaming out right now, probably on their computer, that we can't hear them, but they're screaming out, Doc, I want to do everything you've been saying, but I can't do it. What does this person do? I don't mean, and here's my question. I don't mean how does this person make a shift or an adjustment, because they may not be able to. My question to you is, how do I approach the principal to have a conversation which is inclusive of the culture of this building, which is allowing all those behaviors to persist in the first place?
I love that question, because part of my bio I didn't put in, informally, I've learned to manage up and manage down, meaning I can manage the people that I supervise, but you got to manage your boss. You have to know how to be able to give that feedback in a respectful way, because, there's a power structure, but you may have power, I have authority. And we got to make sure we distinguish those lines. I think for me, it's who does not want to experience success? So if you're an assistant principal, there's a way to say something without being offensive, without seeing like you're being disrespectful to your boss, but you have to be open to feedback too. I have amazing deputies. Shout out to Dr. Paulton and Christine Chavez that hold me down. That's my left and my right hand. They're giving me feedback as well. And I have to be humble enough to take it. I don't have all the answers. If you position yourself like you have all the answers, you're already at a fault. But I think the assistant or aspiring administrator, I think it's very important, speak from a space of data. Don't just talk because it's going to look like you're talking from feelings. So when you ground everything in empirical data and go use a pragmatic approach, all right, so I noticed that, we suspend about 200 kids during lunchtime. Something's happening at lunch. Can we talk about it? Maybe we can have a book club. Maybe we can start there. Or I'm noticing that everyone is acting up when they're in Miss Johnson's math class. I noticed she's not using any manipulatives. Would you be okay if I try that? Like maybe we just pilot something for a little bit. And I'm not being passive aggressive, but when you do it with the intonation as if you're not trying to tell them how to do their job and it's offering a suggestion, I think most times principals will like, all right, I'm gonna let you try it, but I'm gonna want to see results. And you have to give people the freedom to fail, the freedom to create success. But I think starting off using the data, if you're looking at data and the kids are not moving, the instruction is poor and the quality is poor, you have to know what you're saying, but grounded in the data, I think makes a big difference when you're speaking to your supervisor about the initiatives you want to try. But I'm not going to stop with, I don't miss a webinar. I don't miss a learning opportunity. Speak from a place of that you truly understand it. And then I think people will be open and receptive to it.
Yeah, it's those conversations, they've got to occur. They've got to occur. There's a sentence in your bio that stood out for me. The sentence alone stood out for me, but the placement in the bio is what grabbed me. And I'm gonna read the sentence. It says, she believes in excellence and educational equity. It was the second sentence of your bio, right? And see, I would think that the folks on the family on the call would understand why I would be placing so much emphasis on that, because the bio is what tells the reader something about the person. So I'm not anticipating a statement about equity in the second sentence of a bio. So when I see it, I said, oh, she's really committed to equity and excellence for it to be the second sentence in your life story, your professional story, right? So with that said, which I applaud you for, it makes me think I need to move mine up a little bit, right? but here's my question then, because you referred to it as educational equity. So I'm gonna do just what I did with the instructional leadership. What is educational equity?
Wow, that's such a heavy question. I know I'm looking at the time, so I'm gonna keep it brief.
Okay.
At Jackie Robinson School, our motto was excellence is our only option. I didn't want your mediocrity because I'm not mediocre. There's nothing I do that's mediocre. I told my former superintendent, the one that hired me to be on Staten Island 5 years ago, Anthony Zico, thank you so much, sir. I said, I'm extra. He said, what is extra what? I said, I'm just extra. So I need soldiers, people on the team that are going to go above and beyond for kids, especially when you see inequity. And I think for me, when we say excellence, I want the best in front of my children. So when we think about, let's talk about diversity in hiring practices. And that's something that I think that I'm proud of, that I've done in my 2 years as superintendent. Really going through a rigorous process to make sure that we have more leaders of color in front of our students. So that's something that's part of equity for me, because too many times we hear in spaces that, oh, well, I couldn't get a job here, or I couldn't do this because of bureaucracy. So I think leveling the playing field so that students have access, and the research shows us that the kids will do better if they have teachers and administrators that look like them. The second point for me is, going back again to Dr. Goldie's work. Like, we have a bank of culturally responsive lessons based on her pursuit, the 5 pursuits from 3K to 12th grade. I wasn't playing. So if you ever heard Dr. Goldie speak, she probably shouted me out because I was committed to that. What does culturally responsive look like? Please don't just buy a bunch of books and put it in there when I'm coming. I'm not going to be impressed, because I'm going to ask the kids, are you reading the books? What are you learning? What have you learned? So I think making sure that you understand what the CRSC look like. New York State has a free resource, and if you don't know about it, Google it, please. It's called the New York State Ed CRSC framework. And the reason why I really like it, it breaks down the role from district, teacher, principal, even student, of what CRSC looks like. So that's something that I'm going to implore all of you to take a look at. Like, take advantage of free things. Like, it's out there for you. So diversity, I think, thinking about what culturally responsive looks like in the curriculum. What does it look like in assessment practices? Because one size doesn't fit all. I think for me, it's about being a disruptor. And I said it before, when you replay this, you're going to hear certain words I keep saying over. I'm unapologetic about disrupting. So whether it's in Brooklyn or Staten Island, if you're not doing right by kids, and it's not just Black and brown, it also students with IEPs, students who don't speak the language, you have to call people out on what's not working, but not in a bad way, not to hurt them, not to do harm. But sometimes they don't know, and they mean well. And there's a soft bigotry of low expectations. Don't judge because I'm coming from the projects. I was never raised in the projects, but don't look upon children who come from the projects and make certain statements or think, oh, poor baby, he can't do that. No, you expose them to the rigor. And this is a word I didn't mention, but I'm going to say this again. Rigor is not a 4-letter word. That's another book you need to find too. Our children deserve to be exposed to rigorous opportunities, and then we provide the scaffolds and help them with the entry points. So I think really zeroing down and being unapologetic about my equity agenda. But I think I was doing equity, I was making these moves, and I wasn't always transparent. So now we're going back to let people know. So this is why I did this. This is why I made this move. But I'm going to be under attack for it, because some people are not ready for this. In 2023, why in 2021 I'm the first Black superintendent? But I'm going to leave that for another podcast. But I'm just going to say to you that you have to be unapologetic when it comes to kids. And anyone who knows me, you know me, it's about the children. Drop the mic. End the story.
Drop the mic. Here we go. I got to do it with you. There we go. Listen, let's look at equity through the coaching lens. You know, I'm thinking about, I had an audience the other day, Doc, and you know, sometimes the spirit hits me differently with different audiences. And I was at the NASSP conference in Denver, and it was a mixture there. And I let me tell you what happened. Y'all listen to this. A young man by the name of Ronnie Harvey, a principal and speaker who's been on this platform, the Louisiana State Principal of the Year. He walks into the room. He's someone I've mentored over the years. He walks into the room. I stop the presentation, as I'm known to do, and I big him up. And I tell the people who he is, what he's about, what he's done, and give him a big round of applause. But instead of keeping it there, it was Black folks in the audience. As they say, it's mixed company, but it was Black folks in the audience, and it was Black men in the audience. And I said, I cannot continue with this presentation until I share this thought. And I went on and shared the thought. I said, look, folks, what you just saw me do, it has to be natural. In other words, I'm a Black man. This young Black man walked into the room. I know he wants to do this speaking thing at the level I do it at some point. I said, let me acknowledge him. Let me give him praise. And my whole point was to say that sometimes we miss that. And we got to make sure that we are acknowledging one another, promoting one another, celebrating one another. So I celebrated him, but then I felt the need to explain to the non-Black audience what I was doing, because I wanted them to be crystal clear that as a Black man, not to say that I can't celebrate someone white, but I wanted them to know, be crystal clear that as a Black man, I am morally compelled to lift that brother up when he walked into the room on yesterday when we were in Denver. So I'm saying that to say this, my question to you. There are people, when we get into the whole cultural, racial, ethnic conversation, and particularly when we're talking about young people of color, there are people who need a lot, right? They grew up in a bubble that was not inclusive of the children of color in the school. They weren't part of that bubble when they were growing up. So therefore, they don't necessarily know Black and brown people intimately. They know them from a distance, but they may not necessarily know them. I know I'm going long on this, but I'm gonna make the question sweet and simple. So now I'm administrator, and I'm that person I just described. I grew up in a different bubble. I don't know the intricacies of walking in shoes as a Black man or woman. So now I'm in the school, and that's my reality in terms of the students. I want to ask you this question. And equity doesn't have to be a racial word, so I won't make it a racial word.
Mm-hmm.
Give me some thoughts, some ideas from all that experience and intellect that you have. How do I coach equity? Right? It's one thing for me to expect equity, but now when it's just me and you in the office and we having a conversation, or me and you in some room, doesn't have to be the office, wherever it is. How do I coach equity? And perhaps how do I coach equity as it relates to young people of color, so that I can ensure that they are receiving an equitable opportunity to be great?
Wow, that's deep. You didn't stump me any other time, but now
You ain't stumped.
So I got to tell you this though. So Jackie Robinson, many of my staff members looked like me, and yet they were a failing school. So the kids looked like us. It was predominantly Black and brown population. Hi, Stallings. Hi, Doc. I shouted you out earlier. You're one of my heroes too. Thank you for coming into my classroom year one and yelling at me, but it made me better for it. And I will forever love you and be grateful for pushing me to greatness. So thank you, Dr. Stallings. Shout out East Orange.
And real quick, before you answer, he's doing his first national conference at SREB next Thursday, and I'll be in the room cheering him on in Orlando.
I'm so proud. Like 25 years strong, 24 years, and we're still in this together. It's amazing. So at Jackie Robinson School, I don't think I knew the term equity. So from 2006 to 2014, it wasn't really something that was talked about.
It didn't exist.
It didn't exist. So no. I think in that space, and no disrespect, most of those people left by that time, there was an equity there. So you don't have to be kinfolk or look like someone for them to have this negative viewpoint of what it means to move a school, move instruction for better outcomes for kids. The work that we do in coaching for equity has to be about improving teacher practice, but also student outcomes. And student outcomes can be more than just test scores. I said earlier, so whether it's portfolio assessments, if you have a sample of student work in September, how has that changed because of you? Because of your work and what you've done, either as a leader or as a teacher to help that child. And if you can't tell that story, I'm going to assume they're getting tutoring from somewhere. They're getting it from home. We have a responsibility. So I call myself a public servant. So when I'm coaching in for equity, why are you doing this? Why are you here? And I think sometimes people are well-intentioned, they're well-meaning, and you just have to tell it. Oh, but Marion, when I see you, you don't remind me of other Black people, and you're so different. And I'm not a racist. I don't want you to feel like I don't. I'm like, let's talk through this. And so many times, just having those real, honest conversations with people really makes a big difference. And I'm gonna have to tell you this too. Some of my biggest allies didn't look like me. Some of my greatest champions for children that were allies in the work believed in that mission that all kids can learn. They learn at different rates and different styles. So when you're talking about equity, provide them with those opportunities, give them that exposure that they need. So when you're coaching in, and there's evocative coaching that you can ask the questions instead of telling them, because sometimes my face tells a story, so I have to be very cognizant of it, but I've gotten better with it. But when you're coaching in, you ask those reflective questions that are rhetorical, that you don't really want an answer, and then you get people to thinking. And I'm still go back to the data. They used to call me the data queen. Lean in on the data and let the data guide the conversation, because we're humans. We're humans and we take things personal sometimes, but someone's going to get offended by this, but it's not personal. It's the work. Again, it's my calling. So I'm going to have to call you out on the data. If the data tells one story, then what you're sharing with me, let your actions do the talking. Let the results speak. Don't just talk.
I love it. And I love you close it with that, because that takes me to our last question. Another area of passion for you is using using assessments to drive instructional practice as a leader. So there's a lot of aspiring leaders on the call right now. There's a lot of APs on the call right now. Talk to them as in this final question, and we go to the BAM impact questions. Talk to them about the significance of using assessments to drive instructional practices as a school leader.
Oh, so I teach a course on it. And of course, my students, I prepare teachers to become teachers. And they're like, oh my God, a whole semester with her about assessments. I can go on for a year about it. So I first started looking into the work of Rick Stiggins. He had some books about it. I know Paul Bloomberg has a book about culturally responsive assessment. Let's think about Dr. John Hattie's work about visible learning and effect size. Let's talk about assessment capable learners. If you don't know any of those terms I just mentioned, you need to go Google it. Let Amazon be your friend. So I know how to compartmentalize. When I need that charge, I'm going to read your books. When I need to be filled about certain things, I know who to go to. But when you want to look at assessment, let's start off with Hattie's work that he's done this meta-analysis, looking at studies, collective teacher efficacy. If teachers have the belief and the skill and practice to believe that they can affect change on kids, they're going to affect change. But it starts with you as the leader to make sure you're sitting on those teacher team meetings. As a new leader, if you're not familiar with Hattie's work, make sure you get familiar. Formative assessment, let's go back to how I started this. Curriculum, pedagogy, assessment. But the student is at the center of it. How are you looking at what you're doing to either accelerate, remediate, giving students what they need? It's like this delicate dance that you have to do both at the classroom level, the student level, but also at the school level. You have to really understand it. So people use the terms and the buzzwords, and I'm more than happy if you're in a district outside of New York City, dpenconsulting@gmail.com. I'm going to plug that. And before my book comes out next year, and I can share more, but I do consultancy to help others. Understanding formative assessments is that pivotal point that you know what's working, what's not working. Are the kids getting it? Or are they not getting it? But it has to be grounded in the standards. And I'm just going to leave you with this. Observing students as they work is a powerful tool. Powerful tool. Listen to them speak. Having them do performance tasks. You have to understand how all those pieces play together that helps you make the decisions. Are you getting a big return on your investment? So I'll close out in this and saying that check out the professional standards for educational leaders. If you don't know about it, check out the section on curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Make sure you stay current in the field about formative assessments, and check out John Hattie's work. Assessment capable learners, collective teacher efficacy. Let data be your driving point in decisions that you're making that could change a child's life forever.
Wow, you're dropping a lot of information out there. I hope you all getting it down. Keep in mind, because sometimes people forget, you can, once it's a video, which will be in a few minutes, then you can rewind and get all that information you missed. You can watch it on any of the platforms. Let's go to our BAM impact questions. Some folks, they real comfortable with this. Others, they give me a whole long answer. I let Rick go on last week, Rick Wormley, but one sentence or one word, right? That's it. Just one sentence. Or
can I just shout out my former student on here, Kamaya Mitchell?
Oh, absolutely. What's the name? What's the name?
Kamaya Mitchell, former student. This
See.
is how it comes back. Current teacher now. Yay!
Yeah, wow, look at that, man. That's where it's at. Good job, Kamaya. Good job.
So proud of you.
Here we go. 21 questions.
All right, I can do
Is
this.
education on the right path for underserved children?
Yes.
Can true equity occur in America's schools for Black, brown, and other underserved students?
You gotta come back to me.
Does Dr. Marion Wilson's work contribute to the progress we desperately need?
Hell yes.
If you could do a reset on your life, would your line of work be different or the same?
The same.
Why do you continue to do this work?
God.
What fires you up within the work that you do?
Children.
What do you love most about the work you do?
Children.
What do you dislike about the work you do?
Haters.
What has been your greatest victory in this work thus far?
Saving children's lives.
What was your greatest mistake in this work?
Making hiring decisions off of feelings.
What has been your greatest challenge in this work?
Being misunderstood.
Are you proud of your first year as an assistant principal? Were you an assistant principal?
I was not.
Yeah. So are
I
you
went from teacher to principal.
Yeah. When I read it, are you proud of your first year as a principal?
Yes.
Who inspires you in the work that you do?
Children.
What are you reading right now? Book, blog, article, anything?
Equity Warriors by Dr. George Perry.
What book would you recommend for our viewers this afternoon?
Oh, man.
Give us one.
Is your school a better place because you are leading it? Oh, sorry.
If you didn't know, it was written by Baruti Kafele. I hear that guy's all right. I gotta check him.
He's awesome. I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for that guy in 1999. Thank you, Mrs. Kafele.
Hey, my mother's out there. My wife's out there. Hey, Mom. Hey, Kim. What do you think about this guy, Baruti Kafele? Let me stop being silly. Where we at? I don't even know where I'm at anymore. What do you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished yet?
Effectuating change on a larger scale.
Are you satisfied with where you are now professionally?
No.
What could you say to a viewer out there who continues to face closed doors?
Never give up.
What can you say to a viewer out there who's lost their fire?
Go sit in the back of a classroom.
And if Dr. Marion Wilson was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Oh, one word?
Mm-hmm.
Unapologetic about education.
That's a good word. It's unapologetic. Yeah, I'm the same way. That's why I talked to them folks yesterday. What I did yesterday as it related to that young man that walked in the room. I said, I can't not do this. I got to do it. That's what I do. People know because everybody's right. Because I wrote about it later. Everybody's saying, yeah, that's what you always do. That's what you do. Unapologetic. Hey, man, what a conversation.
I gotta shout somebody out. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I gotta because I went through, if you Google me, I went through a very rough time this year. But those who know me, so I don't even have to speak on it. But Dr. Shango Blake, BU, if you're in the tri-state area,
hip hop principal.
Black Educators United. Surround yourself with a circle of greatness because when you're connected to these people, you have to end up being great. So I got on my speed dial Principal Kafele, Dr. McKeezy, Dr. Blake, all these people I'm telling you that I can pick up the phone at any moment, crisis, happiness, sadness, and just make a phone call.
Yeah.
It's a powerful thing. So Dr. Goli Muhammad, like, just too many names, but just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you to all of you. This is not the end. This is just the beginning. Again, when the book comes out next year, I hope you're going to support your sister over here. And shout out to my Staten Island team. I have to say it to my principals, my teachers, my APs on the call. I love you, and there is nothing you can do about it.
I love it. I love it. Now, if you notice on the thread, all these emojis, because that's how we that's our way of applause. So to the family out there first, hit us up with those emojis. Keep them coming. Let Dr. Wilson know how you felt about today, if it resonated, if it was beneficial, if it added value, if it's useful, if you can incorporate it into your practice. And for those of you who are new to the platform, or the ones who came on from Staten Island and you're here for Dr. Wilson, same thing. That's the way we applaud our guests. I wish that StreamYard could somehow convert to some more of a Zoom-oriented platform where I could see you guys. But for now, if my daughter was on, I better clean that up so I could see you all. She don't like you guys, right? That's not cool, right? So you all. So yeah. So for me, I don't travel with the big baseball bat. I bring my little bat. So you hit it out the park, grand slam. Josh Gibson Homestead Grays style, 800 home runs he hit over his career. You hit it out, man. All 4 times at bat, 4 runs in each time, man. It was great. It was great. And I see the emojis are still coming. Let the folks know again how they get in touch with you, social media, and also the consulting.
Sure thing. When I became superintendent, I had to change my Twitter handle from Dr. Didi Diva because it wasn't appropriate. So now you can find me at Dr. Marion Wilson. And if you can't find that way, Dr.
So at Dr. Marion Wilson, one word, without the period. Okay.
Without the period. And dpenconsulting@gmail.com. D as in David, E, Penn, P as in Paul, E, N as in Nancy, N as in Nancy. I went to University of Pennsylvania. Shout out to you, Penn, at gmail.com.
So D-E-E, Penn, P-E-N-N, at Gmail.
No, consulting.
Consulting at gmail.com.
Yes, because I do have my own company. So yeah, so if you
type that up right quick so I can put it on the screen, y'all.
I put it in the private chat. You have it there.
Okay.
But thank you so much for this honor and for it to come full circle. You don't know how much this meant to me. So for those of you, I'm not even in town. I'm, 7 something out here? No, it's 9 something out here now. But just this honor to be back and just to thank you from the humbly depths of my heart. This meant so much to me. And I know to everyone out there, it meant something to you, but this means a lot when someone who started your career who didn't have to. I was being pursued by Newark. And some other places in Maryland, but I'm so glad that East Orange bet on me. And then now I thank you for, this is just full circle for me. So I'm very humble and grateful at this moment.
Oh, I appreciate you being here. Appreciate you. Excellent conversation. Let me go through my rundown. You stay there. And when I go off, please still stay there. And then we could wrap offline for a second. Hey, y'all, appreciate you being here as always. Thank you. Join me next week for week number 169. My guest will be from down there in Georgia, Dr. Kendra Bass and her co-author, Kelly Pex Homer. They got a brand new book out. She's an administrator, Dr. Bass, down in Guilford County. That don't sound right. Gwinnett County. That's Guilford, North Carolina. Gwinnett County in Georgia, right? So she'll be with me with their new book, Unwrapped. Check the subtitle. The Pursuit of Justice for Women of Color. No, for women educators. I'm sorry. The Pursuit of Justice for Women Educators. So not of color, just Pursuit of Justice for Women Educators. And I'm sure we'll get into some aspects of color because that's the kind of questions I'm going to ask anyway. Right. So that's Dr. Kendra Bass and Kelly Pex Homer next week for week 169, 10:55 Eastern time. Every Saturday morning, check out Sean Hurt on Facebook Live. Sean Hurt at 10 o'clock. Create and Educate with Dr. Sheikah Houston and Tammy Taylor. All 3 of them are down here with me right now at the Black Educators Rock Conference. I'll see them in a few minutes. That's at 10:30 for Create and Educate. Unlock the Middle with Josh Tovar Man, he was with me yesterday in Denver, man. My man bought me lunch, y'all. I was starving. I was working, I was speaking and all that. And Josh said, he calls me Heffy, Jefe. It means chief. He said, Heffy, you didn't eat. I said, no. He said, I got you. What you want? I said, you gonna go all the way up there? He said, no, I got you. I said, turkey with lettuce and onions. He said, you want some chips or something? Yeah, give me a bag of chips. You want some water? Yeah, give me the water. Man, I thought he was going to take all day. My man was back in 5 minutes. He must have ran because the restaurant's nowhere near where I was, right? That's the kind of people you want in your space, man. Because he saw me working all day, man, speaking and carrying on, interacting with the folks, taking selfies, all that kind of stuff. He said, Heffy, I got you, right? So that's shout out to Josh. I don't know if he might be flying back home right now, so he may not be on here. Normally he is, but check him out on Sunday nights at 7 o'clock. The AP. Oh, and Dr. Roz Gaskins, the Village Leadership Group. She's here right now. We all here, y'all. If you're not at the Black Educators Rock Conference, and you keep hearing me drop these names, and they go Vicky Gary right there.
I love her. That was my mentor my first year. Miss Gary, I love you.
Good to be here. It's good to see you, Miss Gary. Y'all, all these names I keep dropping, they in the building. They here. So next year, you're going to have to get with us. Right? Because we all in this space, man. I'm getting ready to go out here now and do some speaking, right? So join me. My Alexas are back. So go to Alexa and say open ASCD morning messages. And I think I'm back on. They told me I'll be back on the 13th. So just you'll hear me give that early morning message. But it's on all day long. Check out the Assistant Principal Identity. Get yourself a copy on Amazon and then go on and get the Assistant Principal 50 and then get the Principal 50 and get Is My School a Better School because I lead it. And don't forget the new name, man. I revised it while we was in the interview, y'all, so I had to write it because I came up with something better. Instead of what I said before, here go the new name. The AP and New Principal Academy with Principal Kafele, right? Not Principal Kafele's blah, blah, blah. The AP and New Principal Academy with Principal Kafele. The branding will be revised and we're going to be ready to rock, man. So new principals out here, don't you stop me at no conference no more because I had a few this week. Oh, man, I used to watch you, Kafele, but I'm principal now. And what are you trying to say? I don't recall a graduation ceremony. Right. So it's for you now. I put it in the title. So y'all be on here with us, even as new principals. And the veteran, don't think, it's, we relevant, man. If the Secretary Miguel Cordero got on here right now, the Secretary of Education, this is relevant for him. And he knows about this. I know him. If Superintendent anybody, Director anybody, Assistant Superintendent anybody, Principal, it's relevant, y'all. So don't tell me you graduated. I'm at the next level. Did you recall the guests who have been on here? And Dr. Wilson kept referencing Dr. Goli Muhammad. She'll be here, I think it's the first Saturday in November, right? So, and we got all these other, Bettina Love is coming here. And so many others. They're all, Pedro Noguero, he's coming, right? They're all coming here. And then the ones who've been here, Anthony Muhammad, Todd Whitaker, Jimmy Casas, Akbar Cook is in the other room. Yes! Akbar's here.
I love him too.
Principal Ra might be here.
Yes.
Right? So we here, y'all. Don't tell me nothing about you graduated. Because look, I don't mean to pat myself, but I'm going to do it for a hot second. Oh, Zaretta Hammond been here. Thank you, Melissa. Listen. I don't mean to pat myself on the back, but I don't know what other platforms got these people, man. Dr. Marion Wilson is here. And you talking about you graduated? No. Oh my God. Adrian Young said Gloria Ladson Billings has been here. See, I can't think all these names, man. They've been here. I graduated. Dr. Vincent Stallings been here. Dr. Salome Thomas L has been here. Right? So, the list goes on, and the ones who are coming here, don't y'all tell me I graduated. Let me stop, y'all, because they're gonna be calling me soon. Like, you up at 1 o'clock, right? So, and it's 12:49. So, listen, y'all. Like and follow my virtual AP Leadership Academy Facebook page and subscribe to the virtual AP Leadership Academy YouTube channel. I'm changing all them names later on. Oh, Chuck Carrier been here, who was the editor. Oh my God, Chuck, I can't think of the name of the book. Oh my God, hit that name of the book on there right quick, Chuck. I'm having a mental block because I got too much going on in my head, right? Leading While Black. No, that's the name I gave it. Maybe that one, I don't know, man. Chuck Carrier been on here along with Dr. Chuck Carrier and Dr. Aaron Griffin, my wife, Fighting the Good Fight. There it is. Go to Google, go to Amazon and get that book because I haven't talked about it in a while, but I'm bringing them folks back on too from that book. Man, all I can say is the AP and new Principal Academy with Principal Kafele has got it going on. That's all I can say, right? So your diet, take care of yourselves, folks. Eat right. Your exercise. I was on the treadmill at 1 o'clock this morning because I knew I had a busy day today. So I got it in. And then your COVID precautions. Rock that mask when appropriate. If somebody around you coughing and carrying on the strain, you don't even know them, just put the mask on, man. You don't need to catch that, whatever it might be. Rock the mask. I don't wear my mask all the time, but it stays. I keep 10 of them in my bag. So I'm ready. I'm armed with the mask, right? So with that being said, y'all, I appreciate you being here. Join us next week. 10:55. I'll see you then in the building. I think I'll be home for the first time too. So that'll be a good thing as well. Have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Now cock that fist back. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Bam. Oh, and by the way, y'all, hang on, y'all. Hang on. Those of you that know Public Enemy, you know the rap group Public Enemy with Chuck D. Well, you know something? Professor Griff, who was one of the Public Enemy members, he was one of the S1Ws. He in the building. I met him. I met him this morning, man. He was so humble, man. And we had a good little brief talk and a good little second brief talk. But he's here in the building too. Everybody in the building. So those of you that know, and they go Principal Otis Kitchen, the second from Tampa. And guess what? He's in the building. Everybody in the building, y'all. Marcus Jackson in the building. Everybody in the building. So I'm getting ready to get on back in there, y'all, because they probably like, where Kafele, man? This guy coming back to the conference. So I appreciate y'all. I'll see you next Saturday. Stay there.